All right. Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. These devils are being exposed. Woody Allen marries an 8-year-old. I believe that's how old she was. Okay. At least that's what it says right here on the picture. All right. This is a picture I found on the internet. All right, about one of these demons that's involved in Hollywood. Okay, this guy is involved in everything satanic. He was on the Epstein files, right? And this is something that I seen on the internet, and this shows you, what these Edomites are really up to behind closed doors, right? Okay. These Edomites are the biggest pedos on the planet. Okay. So much so that they got a million or $1 billion business, trafficking kids throughout the world. Okay. Turning them into their little wives. Right. And, this is something that nobody even noticed. Right. This is something that nobody noticed, while everybody is, talking about R. Kelly, and R. Kelly is just this big monster because he was getting freaky with an underage woman, right? Which, technically, all right, that so-called underage woman he was dealing with, she was pretty much according to the Bible, I believe, how old was she? Like 14, 15, right? So technically, she was pretty much a woman, you know what I'm saying? And R. Kelly was dealing with Aaliyah, right, when she was like 15. So, those were young women, okay? According to the Bible, that's legal for him to deal with, women of that age, all right? That's how old Mary, right, Yahushai's mother, right? That's how old she was when she got together with Joseph. She was a young woman. She wasn't no goddamn 25-year-old experienced whore. Okay. She was a young, no experience, impressionable young woman. All right. That's the age that the women are supposed to be married off. Right. So everybody was, coming at R. Kelly, which R. Kelly, I'm not justifying anything he did. Okay. Right. Because he did some wicked shit, too. But everybody was coming at him, painting him out to be a monster. And look what these Edomites are up to, man. OK, I'm going to read this real quick. It says this is a picture of Woody Allen and his 8-year-old adoptive daughter, who he raised and groomed to be his wife, who he is now married to still. And our people, they don't want to call out the so-called white man, for his atrocities. Like, for an example, I'm watching, I got this video queued up on my screen. The elder Manata Zakba out there in South Carolina, right? Some dumbass Jake talking about we need answers. Hebrew Israelite camps. We need answers about Matthew 25 and 31. See, Jake is still trying to find a problem with the prophets, right? Because we're the ones bringing out this type of information. But you don't ever see these same Jakes going to who this devil is for real. You know what I'm saying? What is the devil doing? Right? We can't, we can't be doing anything worse than what the devil's doing. We're not doing anything far, even close to as bad as what the devil's doing. Right? And all of these niggas, they sat there and they try to make GMS seem like we're the pedo lunatics, right? But look what Esau's doing, and don't nobody got nothing to say against this nigga, man. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. It says this is a picture of Woody Allen and his 8-year-old adoptive daughter. And we already know where he got this adoptive daughter. See, what these wealthy Edomites do, okay, they ship and they traffic these kids all throughout the globe, right? And then what they'll do to disguise their treachery, they'll adopt the kids on paper. Like, yeah, I'm gonna adopt this young boy. I'm gonna adopt this young girl, right? Because a lot of the kids that these Edomites sit there and adopt, it be kids from different ethnicities. It's like, Woody Allen, what the hell are you doing with an 8-year-old girl, right? You're talking about I adopted her. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's going to question this devil for this. Okay. But this is why the Spirit of the Lord has the men of the Lord bringing it out. Okay. So what these devils do, they kidnap these little girls from different countries. All right. And then they raise them and groom them. Okay. And the moment the little girl steps inside of the Edomite's house, that little girl is being sexually exploited, manipulated, and taken advantage of her whole life. You see? And that's what this devil did. Okay. And he actually groomed her to be his wife. So imagine what he was doing to her when she was young, right? For her to be his wife now. And what man in his right mind is going to adopt a little girl, right? And then years later, when she becomes an adult, she becomes his wife. When do you ever see that happen? You see? It says, this is sick. He's not in jail, nor is this even talked about. This is the worst thing I've ever seen or heard of, and I had to search for it. My question, where are the Woody Allen memes? Let's go to Woody Allen, right? Woody Allen, American filmmaker and actor. Okay, clearly an Edomite, a devil, right? You know what I mean? He's juiced in. Okay, he looks like a goddamn small hat. I wouldn't doubt if he's a small hat, man. All right, because the small hats, they lead the charge in dealing with little children. Okay. Let's go to his wife. This is his wife, Soon Yi Previn. This is his little 8-year-old, his wife that he groomed her from 8 years old. Okay. And look at the age difference. 40. She's 55. He's 90. So, yeah, he got her at about 8 years old. You see, this is what these devils are out here doing, man. OK, now let me show you something else. Woody Allen, Epstein. He was just caught up in the Epstein files. Cannibalism theories reemerge after chat show Epstein and Woody Allen joked about eating hearts and bones. Satan. OK. Epstein visited Newport, brought girls to Woody Allen film set. Yeah, so this guy, he was a part of a trafficking organization, right? Okay. And he's sitting here dealing with an 8-year-old wife, because he was what? That's 45 years older than that woman, right? He's 45. He's 45 years her senior, right? So when she was 8, he was 53. You see? And that looks about right when you look at this picture. He looks about, it probably was about 53. She was 8 years old. And look at him, man. Creepy ass demon, man. Okay. You Edomites are being exposed, man. All right. This is your history. Why these goddamn Edomites want to get online and, because now you starting to have Edomites get online and talk about, well, I'm not ashamed of my race. And, I'm glad, that we conquered the earth. And, you're starting to see Edomites rise up with that bullshit, right? As if their history is righteous and, they did everything for the greater good. You devils did everything, okay, in the name of Satan, all right? And you twisted and perverted the world as we know today, okay? Because, you're not supposed to be dealing with no 8-year-old girl, man. Let me get this in the scriptures, man, because she's not past the flower of her age. That's when you're supposed to deal with a woman. All right, once she gets her period. All right. This is 1 Corinthians 7:36. It says, "But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age," okay, and typically 8-year-old girls don't get periods, man. Okay, meaning that she's not ready to bear children, which means that she's not ready to take on the responsibility of marriage yet. So if you dealing with a woman that has not had to pass the flower of her age and she's young like that, technically you're a goddamn pedo, right? You're a goddamn pedo. And 8 years old is way too young, man. Okay. And these devils, they deal with women that are younger. Motherfucking devil deal with a goddamn 4-year-old, man. That's how sick these goddamn Edomites are, man. And nobody's talking about this. All right. Everybody's always on the lookout for who's the next pedo, and he's 33 dealing with a 21-year-old. He's sick, right? And you notice they always put those stigmas on Jake. It's always about Jake and Jake, the black man. Why he 35 and he dealing with an 18-year-old. He's crazy. He's insane. You know what I mean? But you notice nobody ever holds these devils accountable, man. Even with these Epstein files coming out, people are still hesitant on holding these devils accountable for their mass exposure of being pedos and creeps. People are still hesitant on calling out this devil, man. All right. It says, "And need so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry." Now, let me get this real quick. Let me show you something. Right. I found this. All right. I'm going to just read the little highlighted part right here. It says, "So the proper and right age for marriage is your virgin must be past the flower of her age," which meaning that once she gets her cycle, that's when it's okay to deal with her as a wife. Okay. Ain't no goddamn 8-year-old past the flower of her, she's not past the flower of her age. Okay. So what the hell is this nigga Woody Allen doing? All right. What is he doing? All right. And he married her. Okay. He married her. All right. He's sick. So he groomed her. Okay. From the time at 8 years old. A lot of these devils, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these wealthy Edomites that you see married today, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them took the same path with the wives that they have now, right? They met their little wife she was 5 years old. He was 30 something, right? And he was fondling her all the way through until she became of an adult, right? Then he married her. Okay. That's how these devils get out. So this nigga Woody Allen, okay, he's a goddamn Satanist. All right. And he's tapped in, all right? And he was hanging out with Epstein and imagine what he was doing, okay, on them islands, man. All right? He was a cannibal. Okay? Esau is being exposed, man, for the creep and the nasty, twisted vandal that he is, man. Okay? It says, "So the proper and right age for marriage is your virgin must be past the flower of her age." This is a different age for most young women. This is usually a pretty young age, such as 12, 13, 14, or 15. You see? So those are the ages that women usually begin their cycle. Okay? Meaning that she's ready to procreate, meaning that she's ready to, move forward in her responsibility of being a wife and a mother. All right. That's why Paul said, if she's past the flower of her age and a man wants to deal with her, okay, he can deal with her. He hasn't sinned. Okay. But you out here dealing with 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, man. All right. You're sick. Okay. You're sick. And this is why Yahushua needs to come and rid the earth of these devils, and remove these Edomites from the power seat, because this is what they've been doing all along, man. All right, this is what they've been doing. Okay, even in plantation slavery, when they had the Negroes, okay, on the chattel slave plantations, right? This devil was sexually assaulting our young women, when they were a very early age, man. All right. So, Esau has always had an appetite for pedo activity. All right. Ain't nothing changed. Okay. He's the wicked, man. All right. Let me get this real quick. This last scripture. This is Wisdom of Solomon 12, starting at verse 4. It says, "Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices." And that's what's going on with the whole Epstein situation. Okay. Witchcraft, sacrifices. All right. Get into the files. Now, when people come out and release these files and people are digging in them, and it's probably going to take people a minute to really uncover it all, because it's 3 million files, I heard. So it's going to take people a minute. And Esau knows that. That's why he released it. Right. He knows that it's going to take people but probably by the time people really read through that whole file, right, them files, okay, martial law, or the world will be in the new world order, right? Esau knew that. That's why he's like, yeah, go ahead and release it, because I know they're not gonna have enough time to read it all, right? But that's what's going on in them files, man. Wicked sacrifices and witchcraft. Okay, all that shit that you see about them talking about some pizza and some I need ice cream and a hot dog, and you know what I mean. They talking about trafficking young vulnerable human beings through a pedo system. Okay, that's what they doing. All right. This is the biggest secret in Hollywood, is that these directors and these goddamn producers are out here fondling the children that are on the set. Okay. Dan Schneider, look that nigga up, man. Okay. He scarred a lot of young kids in Nickelodeon, right? This is what they do. This is what these devils do, man. This is why they get in these positions of power, so they can have access to do this type of shit. Okay. Verse 5, it says, "And also those merciless murderers of children." Okay. Merciless murderers of children. All right. And, sexually exploiting these children. Okay. That's being merciless towards the children. All right. That's being merciless towards the children as well, because, a child, is not supposed to be exposed to that. All right. At that young age. Okay. But here it is. These devils is sitting there trying to, deal with a goddamn 5-year-old. Okay. A 6-year-old, where all of these kids going missing. Right. People don't just vanish, man, with no trace. These devils are out here snatching these kids up, okay, and forcing these kids into unholy unions. All right, doing all sorts of lunatic shit to these kids, man. They're merciless murderers of children. This is who the devil is. This is who these Edomites are. Okay. It says, "And devourers of man's flesh." Yep. Remember that nigga said, Woody Allen, he's a cannibal. So he's a cannibal, a pedo. He's everything, man. Okay. It says, "In the feast of blood." All right. The feast of blood. Okay. So, the water Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that the Lord is, what could I say? Pulling back the curtain on what's been really going on out here. All right, because this has been going on for decades, man. People think that all of this shit is new. This ain't new. All right, this has been going on for decades. They have a well-engineered system on, trafficking these kids and doing this to these kids, right? And so-called adopting a young kid, right, to later turn that kid into their goddamn wife. You know what I'm saying? So if they turn the kid into their wife, that means that the whole time since the child came into that Edomite's house, the Edomite has been fucking with the child the whole time. You see? So, I just wanted to make this video because this is something I found interesting, and it's just more exposure on who these devils are, man. All right. This 90-year-old creep, and he probably still up to it, man. He probably still, you know, got kids that he dealing with, and who knows what the fuck these devils is out here doing. But hey, it's clearly wicked, the shit that they really be up to. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'll give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai.